Example 1. For a 20-year loan of $650,000 from a bank charging 11% interest per annum, compounded monthly, what is the minimum monthly payment to be made to clear the loan? The solution. So as usual, it is crucial that we identify each and every variable that we are given. So the first thing that we note is we are given the number of years. So our N is 20. The value of the loan itself, that is at the present value, is $650. Then the interest rate is 11%, that is to say 0.11. Then the compounding period is 12, since we have 12 months within a year. Then we are looking for the PMT. So what this means is we are going to apply formula 2. There's no need for us to derive it again since we have already derived it. So now from equation 2, we are going to have PMT is equal to that. So now the next thing would be to substitute for each and every variable. So starting with R, we have R in two places, 0.11 and 0.11. So in two places, we substitute for that. It is crucial that we make sure that we substitute the variables in the right position. Otherwise, our solution becomes wrong. Now, the next thing that we can go for is the compounding period. So we've got the compounding period in 3 places. So in 2 places is a denominator, and in 1 place is a power. So 1, 2, 3, we have it there. Then of course, we can go on to the present value, PV. This is 650,000. So we substitute that one. It's just there in 1 place. Then the last thing that remains is the number of years. There are 20 years, and this is in the power. So we substitute that, we have that. So we also have to make sure that we have substituted everything. That's one thing. Then the second thing, just be sure that we have substituted everything in the right place. Otherwise, all our work would be in vain. Right, so with that, the next thing would be to deal with what's within the pair of brackets or the set of parentheses first before we expand. That is important. Of course, I know some people can actually input these values in their calculator straight away. It's possible to get a correct answer, yes, but it's not advisable. Right, so simplifying what we have within the pair of brackets, we are going to have, so for the first set of brackets, we would have 11 over 1,200. So with this one here, you can express it as a fraction as I have done, or keep it as a decimal. But now, if you keep it as a decimal, make sure to keep it to either 4 or 5 decimal places so that you don't compromise on the accuracy of the answer. But where you can keep your answer exact, keep it exact. In that way, you would get an answer that is very close to the exact answer. So now we would do the same thing for the inner pair of brackets in the denominator, so that we have 1 plus 11 over 1,200. And of course, the powers, when we multiply minus 20 times 12, we get minus 240. So we simplify further because we are going to make our lives easier and avoid also the possibility of making mistakes. Because if we just input the values from word go, we might make a lot of mistakes. And that's not what we're looking for here. We want something that is very accurate and precise. So now we move on to the inner bracket within the denominator. So combining 1 and the 11 over 1,200, we are going to get 1,211 over 1,200. So that's one way of simplifying that one. So going further, now we can no longer keep this one exact. That is the inner bracket in the denominator. So we are going to evaluate this, but as we evaluate it, we are going to keep our decimal places to either 4 or 5. So the more decimals you keep, the better. But of course, we do not want to have 10 decimal places. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have the space for that. So 4 or 5 decimal places is just sufficient. So simplifying that one, we are going to get 0.11192 in the denominator. And of course, subtracting what we have in the denominator, we are going to have 0.88808. That is when we subtract 1 minus 0.11192. Then, of course, we've got two fractions multiplying each other. And as we would know and recall, when we are multiplying fractions, we multiply the numerator with the numerator and the denominator with the denominator. But before we do that, we see that in the denominator of the first fraction, we've got 2 zeros, and we also have 2 zeros in the numerator of the other fraction. So meaning that we can actually clear the zeros so that we actually simplify our fractions to be 11 over 12 times 6,500 over 0.88808. Now, multiplying the numerator with the numerator, we are going to get 71,500. And the denominator with the denominator, that is to say 12 times 0.88808, we get 10.65696. So note, I have decided to keep the decimal places to 5 so that I don't compromise on the accuracy of my answer. And of course, this one here is easy to evaluate so that we get our answer as $6,709.23. And I hope that makes a lot of sense.